in reality, it really isn't.
What? What the fuck?
Sorry. So I don't hold either of those views. So I don't know what
Well, I
kind of
know you don't.
atheists you've met. So I guess this is just like a weird kind of
Well,
atheism
atheists don't
that you've
force
come
themselves
across.
to define their views. Atheists never force themselves to nail down their views. That's the
I
point. There's
can.
no logic to it.
Would you like me to define 5 different meta-ethical positions for you, or epistemic
Well, I'm
positions,
sure you could. I'm sure you
or
could find way more than
uh,
that because you have to
right?
come up with a different category for the way that you feel right now. I'm an atheist hyphen this. I'm an atheist hyphen that. But it
Um,
changes constantly.
yeah,
In a month, you'll have a new word to describe yourself when somebody proves how silly that
yeah.
is.
When you don't subscribe to dogmatic stories from a long time ago, it tends to be the case that you're open to changing your mind from time to time. Yeah, that doesn't.
You call them dogmatic stories. I call them absolute realities, truth.
Right.
Is there such thing as truth?
In my view, sure.
Well, how do you derive that?
Well, in my view, truth is that which correctly predicts reality. So whenever you have, let's say, something you observe or think might be the case, it's generate certain predictions, and if those predictions are met, you're going to be further justified in holding that belief.
Sounds like a good theory, but when you don't have anything to anchor it to, then it's just a sliding scale. You
What do you
have
mean anything
no,
to anchor it to?
because you're always collecting data. Until the end of time, you'll be collecting data and changing the way you feel about certain things. There's
I don't,
no way to
I don't know.
define your position. It's
I
always
don't know what you
moving.
mean by how I feel about certain things. I mean, things that I believe to be true or false change, but I don't know why that's an interesting if it isn't if it even is
Well,
a
that's true
criticism.
of everybody. That's true of
Exactly.
everybody. But
So
if what you think is true and false or right and wrong changes, then you have nothing to build a philosophy on, and you have no way of acting in your life
no, but
knowing what
no,
you're
but
doing is right.
no, but wait a second. Everyone can like change their views on what's right and wrong, right? You could think that Brad Pitt is 22, and then you could change your view, right, and figure out that he's like 40 something tomorrow, right? You
Yeah,
can
but
also, as a Christian, change your views as well.
base my actions on whether Brad Pitt is what his age is. I mean, yeah, you could change your opinion of what you think is right and wrong as far as facts and data are concerned, but as far as morality and philosophy on life, those things need to be anchored to something or else you're just running in circles.
Yeah, but look, I
10
already
years
agreed.
ago,
Uh-huh.
people who cared about children were fighting to stop transsexuals and gays from raising them. Now, people who care about children are changing their mind, think that they have to let children get sex changes before they hit puberty, and that any two people who claim to care enough about children that they want one in their house deserves one because feelings change. They're
Yeah.
not anchored to
Okay.
something that keeps them
Yeah.
true.
Sorry. Is there an argument as to why homosexuals wouldn't be allowed to have kids or people that are transgender?
Well, yeah, because it's just an unnatural relationship, and the child
Yeah.
doesn't get to experience that which causes life.
Yeah.
They're raised in a home that
Uh-huh.
is it's a philosophy of death.
Okay. So now I'm gonna ask you, what differentiates what you just told me as a response from a naturalistic fallacy? What differentiates the two?
What?
Because presumably you don't think, right, that you just committed a naturalistic fallacy, right? Presumably you don't think that you're fallacious in your reasoning or argumentation. So I'm just wondering if you could give some account as to why what you said wasn't a naturalistic fallacy. Could you give me an account for that?
If you say it in English, I'll try.
Do you know what a naturalistic fallacy is?
I don't subscribe to that stuff. I mean,
Or, okay.
I don't use like debating tools. I use logic and.
Yeah, naturalistic fallacy is one of the most common forms of fallacy in logic and philosophy.
Do you know what a
Um,
fallacy is?
yeah, I'm
It's
not
where
saying
you
that.
it's
Uh-huh.
where you throw out some term to try to debunk an
No,
argument
that's
without
not.
analyzing the information.
No, I don't think you understand what a fallacy is. A fallacy is when you say that a person's premise or conclusion is wrong, in virtue of them being fallacious. I'm not saying you're wrong in virtue of being fallacious. I'm just saying that your argument hasn't gone through in virtue of being fallacious, right? Now, anyway, if you don't know what a naturalistic fallacy is, I guess I could explain it to you. But I guess it's probably not going to be the
Why
case
don't
that you'll be able to get
instead
out
of doing that, why don't you just use English and actually explain why it's fallacious and illogical, if you actually can do that?
Yeah, sure. So a naturalistic fallacy is when you derive an ought from an is, or when you prescribe something from a mere descriptive
I'm not
fact.
doing that. Two homosexuals cannot create life. Their relationship doesn't provide both halves of the equation that's required to create life, and so trying to use two sides of the same, two positive sides of a magnet to create an entire explanation of how magnetism works, that doesn't work either. So a child being raised by two people who cannot create life, that's a logical fallacy, because they're trying to perpetuate life by bringing a child up in a situation that only creates death. If you put two
Yeah.
homosexuals on an island together, they go extinct.
Okay.
It is
So
not it's not a
okay.
conducive
Right.
environment for
So
breeding life.
okay. So I guess I'll have to like spell this out. Right. So when when you say that two homosexuals can't reproduce together, isn't that a natural descriptive fact? Isn't that a is statement about the fact about the world?
Yeah.
It is, right? Now what you're saying is that we should not let homosexuals raise children, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
But see,
So
I have an anchor to my
no, but wait a
morality.
sec. Yeah, that's fine. But now this is I'm gonna paint a picture here, right? You said, you know, homosexuality is, right? Emphasize on is. Homosexuality is not going to produce children. Therefore, we should, or another way of saying should is ought. We ought not let homosexuals raise children, right? So you start with an is statement, and then you jump straight into a should or an ought statement, which runs you into the is ought problem,
When
commonly
compared
called the
to that
naturalistic
which
fallacy.
does create life. I compared it to what does create life. I didn't jump to that conclusion. I compared it to a relationship which is capable of creating
No, I
life.
understand. I'm
When
still.
you use these techniques to
Uh-huh.
diffuse arguments by throwing out these, titles like the fallacious fallacious of a
But I
certain
mean, I
thing,
explained it to you
instead
what it
of
was.
going, yes, but that's only because that's your easy out on the argument, and you ignore the fact that I juxtaposed it with a relationship which does create life, which
No, but
clearly, factually creates life.
look, it's very common philosophical understanding that you can't prescribe things based on descriptive statements alone, right? One way to demonstrate.
A philosophy created by an atheist who has no moral anchor.
Yeah, no, that's fine,
So,
right? Okay.
it's an illogical foundation that you're working from. It's not,
Yeah.
and it
Look,
causes you
I
to
didn't
act
make.
illogically
Yeah,
because
I
you
didn't make a
threw out
claim.
the other half of my argument.
Yeah, I didn't make a moral claim. I'm simply pointing out that you're using fallacious argumentation.
You made a logical claim. You say that that it's illogical for me to
Yeah,
jump
and
from an is to an ought, when I'm
I
telling you
asked
that
you.
you're
Look,
throwing out the other half of the equation, which is that the relationship that creates life is a man and a woman, when compared to a relationship which cannot create life, being used to train that which is supposed to create life, children, is illogical and it doesn't work. And
but why is it illogical?
we ought not to encourage it. It's
Why?
illogical because having children is for the perpetuation of life.
What if my goal is no?
Why
But
would you
what?
bring them up in an environment where they cannot learn how to create life,
Yeah. What
because
if
they're
my
being
goal isn't to
encouraged to
perpetuate
believe
life?
in that illogical
What if?
philosophy?
Yeah. What if I
If
don't
your
care
goal
about
isn't to
perpetuating life?
perpetuate life, then you have no business with a child in your home.
No,
What?
but wait a
That's what
second.
children are for.
No, but look. Let's say there's a kid in an adoption home and two gay people adopt a kid, right? Now, all I'm asking you is if it's not the goal of anyone to give rise to a next generation, right? What's going to be the imperative, right? What's going to be the reasoning as to why they shouldn't adopt a child?
Because we know that children having children and the fact that they exist in the way that they do is for the perpetuation of life. So if your philosophy is opposed to the perpetuation of life, you have no business getting involved in it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Of course not, because I didn't use some pre-prepared statement that you would hear in a course on how to argue. I'm just using simple logic and observation of reality.
Yeah, look, why does it follow from the fact that children are a product of reproduction, right? That we now should care about reproduction, or that we should perpetuate the species? Why does it follow
The
from that?
fact that you take an interest in children whatsoever, it implies that that's your purpose,
No. Why?
because that's all they're for, is to perpetuate
What's the
life.
argument for that?
Well, because that's how they come about. That's how we live. That is life. Is
How to,
the
how,
cycle of creating children and
okay,
pairing them off with another opposite sex to create more
yeah.
children.
How does it follow that that's what they're for? Right? Why can't I just say that children are actually meant
Because
to
if
not
because if they
reproduce?
weren't because if they weren't for that, then they would be spawned as adults from some big bang or something and appear here fully prepared to do business.
No, but look, what does it matter what the case is with biology, right? What I'm just saying is like I could just simply not care about the biological process of
Yes,
reproduction.
you could do that, but that would make
So
you
what?
illogical because
Why would it?
what you're attempting to take part in is the creation and
I'm
perpetuation of
not.
life.
No, but look, when I'm
If
adopting the
you're a
kid,
gay man who's trying to adopt a child, then that's what you're doing.
no, look, perpetuation, presumably I understand to be a reproduction, right? Is basically the
Well,
creation of new
you
life.
make that's your
The kid,
assumption.
okay, that's fine. Sorry. So what besides the perpetuation of species do you mean besides reproduction?
Well, there's actual reality in teaching a
What?
child what it takes to create that life. So if you're bringing him up in an environment that encourages him to do that which only creates death, you are actually acting opposed to your intended purpose.
Yeah, what I'm saying is what if I don't have such an intention?
Then you shouldn't raise children because
No,
that's
but why?
what children are for.
No, but again, this has just gone in a circle. Why is that what children are for?
I it only doesn't make sense to somebody who refuses to accept that there are absolutes. The absolute is that you children are for perpetuating the species.
Do you have an argument for that absolute?
They're not for entertainment or to give you something to cuddle when you feel lonely.
Right. Do you
We
have an
have
argument
children.
for this absolute?
Well, nature itself is an argument for it.
Sorry. Why is it the case that I should care about nature? I could agree to all the descriptive facts about nature, but I could
Well,
merely just not care.
that's where the moral absolute comes in. Of course you don't care, or you wouldn't take that position. I mean, I can assume that you don't care. Why should I be forced to explain your position to you? Of
I'm not
course you
telling.
don't.
I'm not
Of course
asking
you
you.
don't see it.
Okay, what
Of
I'm
course you
saying
don't see
is,
it that way.
where is the irrationality, right? Or where's the leap in logic? If I don't care about any biological fact, right? Nor do I care about the perpetuation of the species, and I simply want to adopt a child because I feel good when I play catch with like children,
Well,
right? Where's the
because
irrationality?
everybody only it's only rational for somebody who already feels the way that you do. For somebody who understands that we use children to perpetuate life, it's clearly illogical. I would have to move over to your position to explain that to you in a way that you would see as logical.
Yeah.
Since
So
you already are within your paradigm, you can't see it as illogical.
yeah. So you're
That's why
okay.
you're arguing your side of this perspective.
Yeah, people argue for their own perspectives. It's a big newsflash.
So
But
for
so you're
well, for you to
conceding
then
that
assume. For you to
Uh-huh.
then assume that's like me asking you to explain my position for
Yeah,
me.
so yeah, it's a naturalistic fallacy. I can explain
And
it to you. But
I know atheists, naturalists are used to people tossing the ball into their court, so you may find this confusing, but for
mhm.
someone who has a moral absolute, it's not confusing at all.
No, but like we've been over this, right? And I guess you already conceded that you don't have some sort of argument that you can present to me as to why I'm being illogical or rational. All you're merely saying is that our goals are different,
Well,
right?
and
That's
no, you're
basically
just
what it's come
refusing to
down to
see
you
that
admitting.
you're just refusing to see the fact that without creating children who then grow up and pair off with someone of the opposite sex, we don't perpetuate life. We die, and there's no one here to take your side of the argument anymore.
Yeah, I understand, and like I
I
said,
mean,
my
it's
view is consistent with all the natural facts. So what I'm saying is that I can agree to those all natural facts and hold the view nonetheless. So where's their rationality?
The irrationality is that your view perpetuates death, and you need life to
So
even have a position to stand on and pass it on to the next generation so that it lives on and creates this philosophy and creates this pattern that would give you any evidence to show whether it was a good decision or not.
yeah, that just seems like it's going to be a contradiction. But what if I don't care about the next generation going on to collecting more evidence, etc., etc.?
Raise, nurturing a child and taking part in that activity implies that you care. So it's an illogical position. It's contradictory to itself. I don't have to argue with it. You just debunked it. You just said you don't care. If you don't
Yeah,
care, why are we
if I don't
debating it?
care, where's their rationality? No, what I'm saying is I merely don't care about the biological facts.
Well,
I'm not saying I don't care
that
about the
makes my
concepts.
point. That makes my point.
So where's the irrationality?
You have my point was that you have to have no sense of morality to take that position. And you just said, well, what if I don't care? So you proved my point. You have
No,
to
but
not care in order to take that position.
yeah, but we already agreed. Look, I agreed with you right off the bat that I actually think morality is nonsense to begin with. So it's
Okay.
not that, yeah,
And I agree with you that it's logical for someone with no sense of morality to take your position. That doesn't make it true. Doesn't make it a
yeah,
true position or a good one.
yeah. So do you have some way to show that
So
atheism is
you're
false?
basically an anarchist. Oh, now you want to change the topic? So
I
you're going
don't
to concede my point? You want to change the
concede.
topic now?
Concede one point. Have you been able to show the
Now you want me to
irrationality?
now you want me to disprove atheism.
No, 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 no. Wait. If you hold on, I was under the impression that you understood that you had no argument when you basically conceded that you couldn't show the irrationality. Someone
I
doesn't
just
care
did.
about the
I just
biology.
did.
They're not being
If
irrational.
there's any yeah, well, you don't know what rational is because you have no
Sorry.
anchor in fact.
Wait a second.
You have no way of knowing what's rational or not because that
Sorry.
changes
Why is it that you have an anchoring in fact and I don't?
because I follow a lawgiver that never changes his laws.
Yeah, do you have an
And
argument for that lawgiver?
his laws are demonstrated by nature. The fact that you cannot perpetuate life
Right.
the way that you raise a child in a
Yeah.
homosexual relationship.
Do you have an
That's
argument for that lawgiver?
his laws. His laws are demonstrated by nature.
Yeah. So I don't have to recognize this lawgiver as any sort of
You don't.
authority.
No, you don't have to. But if you don't do it, then you're stuck where you are, and you
Right.
refuse to
Let me
admit that
ask you
there's a
this.
certainty in morality,
Uh-huh.
or truth, or good
Right.
or evil,
Yeah,
and
let me
that's
ask you
where you
this.
are.
Are you a regular Christian?
What does that mean?
Are you a Protestant?
Yeah, I guess.
Are you a you're not a Calvinist, are you?
I protest against the Catholic Church, so I guess that would make me a Protestant.
Are you a Calvinist?
Nope.
Okay, good. So I have an argument for you. If you would be interested.
so you wanna move on and change the topic? Is that what you're
Well,
saying?
what I'm saying is I have an argument for why the Christian God can exist, right? It seems like if I can.
So you want to have
Well,
another different argument now? Is what you're
well, what
saying?
I'm saying, look, what I'm saying is if I can make this argument, it's going to undermine your entire, objective anchor, whatever nonsense,
If
right?
you could prove that God didn't exist, that would undermine my argument. I suppose not really, because nature still demonstrates that my argument has validity.
Yeah, like I said, the natural facts are going to be consistent with either prescription, right? As we clearly realized a minute ago.
Not when you believe like you do that there's no absolutes in morality. I mean, even if you want to just boil it down to the simple perpetuation of life, you don't even need God to do that. Nature that you see right in front of you does that. Makes the
Yeah,
argument that you can't perpetuate life in that situation.
what I'm saying is that
It just happens to
this
agree with God, which is
look
handy
look
for
if
me, right?
if we're taking naturalistic fallacies to like be acceptable forms of argumentation, then it's going to be the case that two diametrically opposed prescriptions are both going to be consistent with the same descriptive fact, right? Which just means you're shit out of luck because I can just prescribe
I,
the opposite thing, right? I can just prescribe that we stop reproducing and we all die out, right? And there's not going to be an argument as to show why your prescription is correct and mine is wrong, right? You're not going to have that argument.
Only if everybody
So
only if everybody here agrees that those two positions are both equal in value, and I don't think anybody here would agree with that.
how is that not an ad populum?
There is no populum without the perpetuation of life. It's just the way that you argue is illogical. These descriptions that you give to arguments to avoid arguing them is illogical on its face because you don't have any way of knowing what logic or any of that is.
What's
It
the argument
changes
for
for
that?
you. It changes for
What's the
you. You
argument
just
that I
said
don't
it.
have access to logic?
Because you're willing to place value on the equal value on two opposite actions.
I never said that. What are you talking about?
You did too say that. You said, "What if I'm willing to argue that we should all die out and there should be no perpetuation of life?"
Yeah, that's not me affirming two opposite positions or values. That's me affirming one.
Do you when you say what if I say that there's no value in perpetuating life, you're assuming the existence of the opposite argument or your argument has no weight. What are you weighing it up against? The other one has to exist somewhere conceptually.
The
Or what did you
argument,
just say? You just said nothing.
the argument could exist, sure. What does that mean? Sorry, like, do you disagree that there's like opposing arguments to views that you hold?
Oh,
You
sure I
could,
do. Sure I do,
yeah.
but my
So what are you
argument
talking
is that they fall apart because they're not reliant on a moral anchor that is always set in stone.
Yeah, that's fine. So anyway, do you want to move on to the other debate?
Only if you're willing to concede that unless you disprove that God exists, it makes no sense.
Look, we've been over this. The natural
Sorry.
facts are consistent with both prescriptions.
Both prescription what that we should die and
Yeah,
there should be no life.
you're saying we should keep reproducing. I'm
If
saying
we
is we should
die and
stop.
there's no life, then your argument defeats itself because there's nobody to make it.
Sorry, I didn't. I wait a second. You think that arguments are false or are like somehow like wrong or
Well, see,
irrational
like there's a
if there's
difference
no one
between
to produce the
somebody
arguments?
who's an
Do you think
atheist
the
and somebody who
Kalam
lives in
is
reality.
nullified if everyone dies? Wait. So look, if the entire species were to die tomorrow, you think that the validity of arguments is dependent on like living people, and that your argument is going to be like falsified if everyone dies?
If our opinions matter at all, we have to exist.
I don't know what that means.
Well, obviously, because there's no name for it.
Sorry. So you think that the belief in the Christian God is going to be falsified if humanity dies tomorrow, because there'll be no one to believe in Christianity.
That's your position. That's your
That's not
position,
my
not
position.
mine.
I didn't bring forth this nonsense of if everyone dies, your argument like fails or whatever.
If
That was you.
everyone dies, then the only thing that exists are the laws that God put in place. So no, you're wrong. Only people are here. Only people can contradict and make illogical arguments. So yeah, if we all died, the only thing that exists are God's arguments, and they prove themselves true on their own weight, and yours defeat themselves under their own weight.
Yeah, why should anyone accept the view that the truth or falsity of an argument is dependent on whether there are people alive? Why is that something that anyone would hold to?
Well, because truth only has value to an observer. If there's no one to observe it, then it's nothing.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that in order for something
It's
to
just
be
a word.
seen as true, Sorry, do you not think that there are objective facts out there that are like true,
I believe
independent
I've
of
been
any
making
lies?
that argument all this time. You're the one who doesn't believe there's objective facts out there as far
I
as
never said
morality is
that.
concerned.
Yeah,
As
well,
far
as
as
far as
morality
morality
is
is
concerned.
concerned, sure, I'll agree with you on that.
Well, what are we talking about? Whether facts exist or whether it's right or wrong to raise a child in a homosexual relationship?
Yeah, I'm
You're
asking you.
sliding. You've not only moved the goalposts, you've expanded them to be about as wide as the entire field.
This is so frustrating because you don't understand like basic philosophy. Oh fuck. Okay.
I
I think we
don't
should just.
subscribe to atheist philosophy. I
Yeah.
understand it. I understand that it can move
Yeah.
around and do a little dance
You
and
you
use a lot
think
of
that
fancy
Alvin
words, but it never has
Plantinga?
to land. It never
You
has to
think that
land
William
on
Lane
a
Craig?
conclusion.
You think that
I think
William
that
Lane Craig would use a naturalistic fallacy? You don't think they would care about
is
fallacious argumentation?
is who's William Lane Craig?
You don't.
Does he know?
He's
Is he a
like
prophet?
he's like he's like the most popular Christian apologist.
Is that how you came up with your arguments, by studying William Lane Craig?
No, I just under the impression that you're like interested enough in these conversations to like follow like apologists.
I get my
But I guess not.
philosophy. I get my philosophy from the Bible and observing the world in the perspective of the Bible.
Incoming chat.
William Lane Craig is not important to me.
Jesus Christ. Jack, are you
I
here?
see you're coming around. He's listening. What do you have to say after that?
What do I have to say to what? That you like just like
Well,
reject
you called out.
philosophy? I mean,
You
I don't know
called
what to
out
say.
to him. Do you have something to follow?
I just want to hear his like opinion on the discussion so far.
I'm trying to give it.
Wait, one is your name's not Jack. Wait, Jack, are you here? Oh.
Oh, well, well, that just happened, right? Is this over or what's the deal now?
Yeah, I don't think I
I
want to
think
go
he's
into the problem
planning
of
his
evil.
next move.
No. I was thinking of going into like the problem of evil with you, but I don't think it's gonna work if you just like don't even know what a natural.
Evil's not a problem.
Why?
I'm blind, all you're so savage behind the scenes.
How am I not receiving the savagery in the M's?
Wait, I'll
I'm
send
sure
you
he gets a
screen.
lot of victories behind the scenes too, but in reality, where I live, he just sounds like he's using a lot of fancy words that he learned somewhere and not trying to arrive at a logical conclusion.
Yeah, blind. I'm not even blind owl. You don't even know. Okay. But either either way. Sorry. Why is evil not a problem?
Because it has to exist in order to create love.
Sorry. Why can't love exist without evil?
Because love requires a choice between doing good and doing evil.
So was God not loving before creating the world and evil?
God existed eternally with his son,
Ah.
and you made that argument earlier, actually. So I don't know
Uh,
why you're
no,
acting
but wait a
ignorant about
second.
it
Wait a
now.
second. No, but look. Presumably there was no evil before creation, right? Now,
There's
granted,
al-
it's some temporal notion, right? So presumably when there
there's
was God
always
alone,
choice.
yeah, that's fine that there's always a choice. But what I'm saying is
Yeah.
that either it's the case that God wasn't loving, right, before the universe existed, right? Or it's the case that it is possible for love to exist, even in the absence of evil. So you have a dichotomy right now.
No, you don't really have a dichotomy at all. You
You have a
always had
dichotomy.
choice. There was always choice within
Well, a
God. There
dichotomy
was
is a
always
choice.
within God. There was always choice, and there was an order determined from the start. Now, just because
Yeah.
God doesn't follow the order chronology, just like we do, as that that doesn't remove his ability to make determinations of his own will,
Yeah,
as did his
that's fine.
son, to put himself in subjection,
That's
as
fine. Okay,
as we do
now you're
every
just
day
preaching,
when we
right?
put
Yeah, that's not
ourselves
interesting.
in subjection.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the
I'm not interested
choice.
to hear about Jesus, right? But look,
Well, I'm that's obvious.
yeah, but look, what I'm saying is that for you to say that evil's not a problem because we need evil in order to have love, right? Now, what's going to account for evil there as not being something that's gratuitous is going to be if there's a logical incompatibility between the existence of evil and love, right?
Evil is
No,
simple.
what I'm, no,
It's the
okay,
lack of the existence of good.
listen,
That's what
Boomer,
evil
look,
is.
look, if what I'm saying is, if you could have a state of affairs, right, where all the love that currently exists in our world, right, is present, but none of the evil is there, right, then the evil isn't going to be accounted for, right?
There's no
So what the theist,
juxtaposition if it
so,
doesn't
no, that's
exist.
fine, right? But what the theist has to say here is that it's logically impossible to have the good in the absence of evil, right? That one logically necessitates like the other, right? Because if it was possible,
You
if it was
presume that there has ever been a place that was completely filled with goodness. You presume that
yeah,
there's a resting position where everything is full of good. And I'm
look, what I'm
saying the
asking you
fact is
is,
that good is only where God exists.
yeah, that's fine. Look, is there a logical incompatibility between the existence of love in the absence of evil?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a logical incompatibility here. So if it's not logically possible, then it can't be the
Well, it depends on
case.
your definition of evil. You think
Then,
evil is a
uh-huh,
thing that exists, evil
then,
has to exist
yeah,
free of love too, if that's your
yeah,
position.
right.
And that
So
it's a
now,
thing, whereas
so,
it's really an absence of
uh-huh,
a thing.
right. So if it's logically impossible, right, for evil, sorry, if it's logically impossible for love to exist, right, in a state of affairs where there's no evil, which is something you just affirmed, that means that it wouldn't be logically possible for God to be loving before there was any evil in creation, right? But for, but
Only if he couldn't create that separation onto himself of his own will. I mean, you're presuming that God's existence is that of our own in an environment where we can move ourselves physically from one place to another. It's you subscribing our traits onto a eternal God with divine will that has always existed.
um, yeah, that's fine. I don't know why you're like saying any of this stuff. It's not relevant to the objection. So anyway, if there's a logical incompatibility between the existence of love by itself, right, without any evil, then it can be the case that there was love within God, right, when there was no evil. But you're not
There
going
was
to hold
always
that view,
choice.
that right?
There was
I
always
mean,
choice.
sorry, is this a free will defense that you're presenting now?
God's will is his choice.
Yeah, I don't understand how that's like answering the objection.
If there's a choice, then there's options. I mean,
Yeah, it's fine.
how is
It's
that
fine
so
for
hard
there
to
to be
explain?
options. Look, there was a state of okay. Was there a state of affairs where God existed without creation? Right? Because presumably you think that God is eternal. You don't think that the universe is
Well,
eternal.
God has to be eternal.
Okay, that's fine. So that just means there was a state of affairs, right, where God existed, right, without the earth, right?
You're placing
Now,
God into a physical paradigm that obeys
I'm not
physics and
I'm not convinced.
chronology.
I'm not making some claim about spatiality, if that's a
Well,
word.
that's the only way that
But
that your line
no,
of questioning
it's
makes
got
any
nothing.
sense.
No, it's got nothing to do with it. I'll literally say that God is in time and space. That's fine, right? All me saying is that
Yeah,
there
you
was a
could
state
say
of
that, but your argument that
no,
follows
it's
contradicts.
not. It doesn't. Look, what I'm merely saying, right, is that there was a state of affairs, right, where the earth didn't exist and God did, right? This is consistent with the
A state of
Orthodox
affairs
Christian.
is like that are right there presumes that there's some chronological, physical, existence that we like compared to what we know right now. God's eternity could be to him without time and
Yeah, look, I'm not in.
constantly
I'm,
existing in
yep,
this perpetual
I'm not
state
interested in the
of one
temporal or
moment,
spatial facts. Yeah, that's fine. Right. What I'm saying is, you don't think that the earth is eternal, correct?
right?
Right. Presumably, you don't think that there's evil outside of like the earth.
No, that wouldn't be true. I mean, evil is a concept. I mean, it's not a physical thing. It's the lack of good.
Yeah, that's fine. So you think that there was a state of affairs, right, where there was no world to lack good. Yes.
Why is good dependent on our world?
Because I take evil to be like dependent on a
See,
world,
that's
unless you
where
think that.
you can't make this argument outside of
Yeah,
this physical paradigm.
yeah, holy fuck. Okay, yeah. Look, in its simplest form, right? It is the case that there was a state of affairs before creation, yes, where God existed, but like the world didn't. There was no sky, earth, right?
There was his
There was no
state of
sunlight.
being. I
Yeah,
mean,
sure, whatever you want to call it. Meaning is that if God is loving, right, then that means that there was a state of affairs in which love existed, right, but there was no evil, right, because there was just a state of affairs with God's existence alone.
it was still
Now
the
what I'm
choice. You see, like
That's fine. I understand he had a choice.
he chose to create this existence wherein he didn't have to choose to create
But
this
yeah,
existence.
that no,
That was the choice.
that's fine.
That was a
I
choice
don't. The
of
choice
love.
isn't relevant to this. The choice is consistent with the argument that I'm making. Now look, all I'm saying, right, is that there's gonna be no logical incompatibility, right, between the existence of evil, right? Sorry, between the absence of evil, right, and the presence of love, right? Because God existed, right?
And he
There
is
because
love.
there was a state of affairs where a loving God existed, right, and there wasn't any evil because all there existed was
Well,
God, which means, look, if all of
loving implies that that it's not his will to be love and good. Loving is like that's what we do, you know.
sorry, so God isn't loving.
God is love. He is
Okay, so
loving,
God is
but
love.
he is love in
Sure,
unto
I'll
himself.
take either. That's fine. God is love. Okay. Now, what I'm saying is that there was a state of affairs where all of that there existed was God, right? That just means that there was a state of affairs where there was no evil, but there was love, which means that there's no logical incompatibility between the two, right?
There is
But if
there
there's
but no no you make it you jump into conclusions. The
so,
if
mhm.
if God had a choice before him to create life and chose not to create life, if the fact that that choice existed means that there was an evil choice, but his nature is not evil, so it was determined of him that he was going to do something loving, which requires creating something to act on in love.
Yeah, I don't know what you think this choice thing that you keep bringing up is like doing here,
Well,
but like
it
again,
was his sovereign choice to create this. That
yeah,
doesn't imply
and
there was.
I'll agree with you, but that's not inconsistent with the argument.
Well, proceed then. Go ahead.
Okay, so if it's not inconsistent with the argument, then you still have an objection on your hands.
Which is,
Okay, so look, um, I'm really sorry. One second.
are you reading this?
No, I'm working right now. I'm sorry.
Okay. Something tells me you're reviewing a debate between somebody else and William Lane Craig.
I actually don't know what Craig's response is to the problem of evil. But I think you should look into Craig. It's weird that you haven't heard of him.
I've heard of him. He's just nobody to me.
Rest in peace. Is Jack here?
Yo, Jack, are you in the house right now?
Right now.
Guess he's not.
This is why Jewish people are evil.
I agree.
But anyway, so Viktor. Actually, I think it's better if I deal with this guy before carrying this on.
I agree.
I'm gonna kiss you, sure.
I actually applaud you for this.
I wanna die.
Don't worry, if I was going through the same thing, I would wish the same.
It's a moot point. It's a moot point anyway because you're using terminology that requires a definition.
Yeah, that's how language works, yes.
No, I mean it requires a conceptual definition. A line between good and evil. You're borrowing from my philosophy to make your argument.
Yeah, that's what a reductio is.
No, you don't understand. There is no evil from your point of view. So in order to imagine the line between good and evil, first you have to believe that it exists.
Yeah, it's called an indirect proof by contradiction. Yes, I agree. It's something you do in
all of
logic.
these terms and everything? Why are you so intelligent?
If I was white, I would be blushing.
Even making the argument
Continue.
assumes that there's a definite line between the two. It's silly, and that's why it's getting you nowhere.
Sorry, is there no difference between good and evil on the Christian view?
Yeah, there is, but not in your view. So
But yeah,
you make an argument that's inconsistent with your own philosophy.
Yeah, an indirect proof by contradiction. You take the premises of a view and you follow it to its logical conclusions to reach a contradiction.
So you
or
don't
some
believe
sort of
there's any
incoherence.
such thing as evil?
No, I don't. Ooh, this guy's writing a paragraph. Oh my lord. Okay. Whoever joined this VC is gonna get a kiss from me. Where the fuck is Jack?
Oh, I wish he was here. If Jack was here, he would put stuff on fire. I would have used different wording, but I'm trying not to swear, you know. That preaching, that Arif, that really got to me.
Incoming chat.
Yeah.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
What are you doing now?
I'm working.
On what? Your
No,
job?
just my job, yeah.
Oh,
No,
my
I'm working.
condolences. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if your communist party ever takes power, would you execute your boss, yes or no?
No, my boss is really hot. I wouldn't do that.
Oh, so you're acknowledging that you have a gender bias?
Who said my boss was a female?
Excuse me, sir, but if you do not like to live under the government, you can just leave or die, okay? Wait. If you don't... I got the best argument against communism.
Okay, you need to like relax for a second because I need to focus on answering this customer.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I'll hit you up with the argument later. It's actually so funny when you said that.
What? When?
No, when Viktor said, when I mentioned the coup, and then he was going on about leaving or dying. It's talking about how the government got power through God. I don't think he knew what I was talking about. Oh.
It's
What
really
I want.
upsetting that Jack isn't here.
If Jack was here, he would have used his Jewish debating skills to just, you know.
Oh, but sure, you missed it. Yesterday. Me and Jack like double teamed this like sexist guy. Oh, it was wonderful.
Why do I always miss these beautiful moments?
We made him eat shit.
I see. Yeah, you know, you don't have to continue this cluster F word,
I
right?
lose a lot of motivation when I realize Jack isn't actually listening.
I see. But as a wise Iranian man once said, do not wrestle with pig. You will get dirty and you will enjoy.
What the fuck are you talking
Uh, well, that's a literal quote for my boy Blind.
Ah.
In regards of the previous moments, which I will not name, otherwise he will go ballistic on me,
Is someone vaping?
right? I think, Victor, are you vaping right now? Like, what's the deal?
What's in
What
the
mean,
difference is?
To be
What
fair,
difference does that
vaping
make?
is a lot better than cigarettes, right? So I'm not shaming you for doing it. I'm
Well, I'm
just
not
wondering.
shaming you for snickering like a jackal either. So
Ooh,
maybe we should both
fuck.
mind our own business.
He got you.
I'm a fellow vapor as you. Why would you be this mean? Where in the Bible
I
does it
just
say
don't
to
like
be
people.
this mean
Just
to
don't
a
like
fellow
people
human
getting
after a
into my.
question?
I just
Why
don't
are
like
you
people
this
getting
tense?
into my business.
Why would you do this to
Why do
me?
you
What
behave
happened to
like my
hospitality?
vaping
What
is
happened
somehow
to like
bothering somebody
being
more than
nice?
snickering into their microphone? It's just a
Why
sound.
would you do this to me?
Al, I'm
Why
a
do you
sinner.
preach about
I'm
not
a
swearing
sinner.
when you're being like a rude man against
The
me?
first thing to understand about
Why
Christianity is
would
that
you?
you're a
Why
sinner.
would you talk
I just told you why. Why
preach
would you
about
repeat the same
swearing when you
question?
talk over other people?
Why
It's
would
just
you
more
repeat the
disruptive
same
than swearing.
question over and over again, rephrased into different terminology?
Why would you not answer my questions?
I already did. I'm a sinner.
No, but I wasn't listening, so do it again.
Why would you ask a question and not listen for the answer?
Because I heard you talk, right? And after hearing you talk
Why
for
would you
30
prove to
minutes,
somebody? Why would you
I'm
prove to somebody
exhausted.
that responding to your questions is pointless because you're not listening?
I guess it's pointless, but so is being rude for no reason.
Not for
Fuck.
no reason, and it's not rude. It's asking you to mind your own business. That's not rude.
No, but like I was just wondering, right? Like, do you
Well,
tell like your
your
fellow
wonder,
Christian
your
brother
cur.
to
I
like
don't have to. I don't have
to like
to
to like
comply to
when
your
you're
curiosity.
when your Christian friend he comes and asks about like some verse, right? And you tell him to piss off. Like, come on.
You didn't ask me about a verse. You asked me about my
Okay, I'll ask you
personal
about a
business.
verse now. Can you explain the first verse of the Bible?
I could if I thought you really cared.
Yeah, okay, you got me,
Wrecked.
but still,
What's the first verse of the Bible?
I
If you can
don't
tell
know.
me what it is,
I was trying to ask you, right?
you're just trying to obfuscate,
What?
confuse
Listen,
the
English
point
is my
of the
fifth
conversation.
language, so I don't know. First, I
If you can
learned
tell if
like
you tell me what the verse is, I'll explain it to you. If you don't know what it
okay.
is, you obviously don't
No,
care.
no, that's all I wanted to hear. I actually don't care, but now you're being nice, right? You're being understanding. I like you. You see, I was playing a mind game all along. Now you've proven to me that you have a heart.
I'm
Thank
shocked
you.
to hear that. I'm shocked to hear that you were playing games in Discord. I appreciate
honestly,
I appreciate you arriving at a point of honesty, though.
yeah, no problem, man. Anyway, are you gonna like continue this cluster effort with Manuel? What's the deal?
I I don't know. I mean, it seems kind of pointless since he has to hop from philosophy to philosophy to make his point. There's no consistency.
You don't even like know philosophy. What are you talking about? They're like, you mean I hopped from like analytic
Philosophy in the
philosophy to
general
continental
sense.
philosophy? Is that
Philosophy in a general sense. You have to. I mean, you assume that love exists to even make your argument. Like, who created that? A person. I mean, if it doesn't exist, then what's the argument? You
yeah.
have to.
So indirect proofs by contradiction are, I think, quite common in logic. I don't think it's something unique to me.
Well, you still haven't presented the contradiction. You're just going around in circles.
Oh, well, no, the thing is, you arrived at like a dilemma, but I guess you didn't understand it. Again, but a customer came for your stick. But
It's
now,
only a dilemma for you. It's not a
yeah,
dilemma for me
I don't think. Okay, so
because I have an
look,
absolute.
that's cool. So look, you're saying, so I'll give you like some like other like examples, right? Just so I guess explain it better. So
One that doesn't
yeah,
apply to an absolute lawgiver.
no,
It's
no, no,
that's
no, no, no. Trust me.
oh,
So
I
what I'm
trust
saying
you.
is,
That sounds
thank
like
you.
a good idea.
So other common responses to the problem of evil include the free will defense or the soul building theodicy. So
You're giving me is this multiple choice now? Because
no,
I'd
no,
like
no,
to come up with my
um,
own answer if that's
no,
all right.
no. No. I'm just trying to explain to you the dialectic a little bit. So look, the idea is
Why don't
just
you
that.
just make your argument instead
Yeah,
of
yeah.
in and just
I don't know why you're
on
like
a
stopping.
soapbox? Who's the
Yeah. So
religious one here?
yeah. So when a theist gives the free will defense to the problem of evil, what the theist wants to say is that there's a logical
That's not a.
incompatibility.
I haven't given that defense. Why are we
No,
talking about it?
I know you haven't given that defense. No, I'm merely pointing
So you're
out
giving
how
me
like this
multiple
works.
choice now.
No,
You're
no,
gonna
no, no,
make
no.
my
Yeah.
argument for me so that you can
I
get
mean,
like three quick wins before I even get a chance to answer by knocking down common arguments that you've already dealt with.
mm,
To
no,
be fair,
that's
This is
not
a
what's
Joe.
happening.
this is a pretty common tactic in
Okay,
debate
I'll
that
be.
just
No,
drags on.
that's not what's happening. I'm just trying to explain something to you, so I'd really appreciate if you listen.
Why don't you just
Um,
make your argument?
yeah, I made my argument, but you didn't get it, so that's trying to approach it a different way. So look, the thing is, whenever a theist brings up the free will theodicy, they want to say that there's a logical incompatibility, right, between having free will and always doing good, right? They want to say that, it can be the case that we always do good, right, or that there's never any evil that we do, and the fact that we have free will. Those two are logically incompatible,
That's a
right?
different argument.
No, I
That's
agree.
an
I agree.
argument that's
Right.
so it doesn't
I'm,
even belong in
I'm
this
merely
context.
No, that's fine. No, all I'm merely pointing out, right, is that when the theists bring up these responses, like the free will one,
Yeah, but
right?
that's an answer to the
That's
argument why did God create evil? That's not what you asked. You're proposing that there is no good or evil.
I no, that was the question. That was like the original like point that I was making.
What's that? Why don't you rephrase it because I think it's gotten lost in all this going in circles. What is your
Oh
point
well,
that you're trying to make actually?
I'm just saying if God is a maximally good being, then he'd want a state of affairs with no evil. If evil and
So
good are
you're
taken to
going
be
from an is
to
to an
opposed.
ought, right? Is that what you just did? He
No,
should, he would.
no,
That's a pretty big assumption on your part.
no. God's nature as a
I would
theist.
propose that
Uh-huh.
for God to recreate his best trait, he had to create a choice between the choice to obey him and the choice to disobey him. The one who defines love and good had to create a choice to obey him or not in order to perpetuate his best trait,
Sorry,
which is
what's the
love.
best trait? Okay, love.
Love.
Okay. Yeah, so what I'm saying is that Why couldn't it be the case that God gave everyone free will, but everyone was always loving?
Because that
Right?
wouldn't be
See,
free will.
yeah, exactly. See, now that's when you say logically incompatible, right? So then I'm just going to say, look, presumably God has free will, right? But he always does good and he's always loving. So either it's the case that God doesn't have free will, or God isn't loving, or there's no logical incompatibility and it
Free
could exist in the world. So now you're at a
free
trilemma.
will free will is something that he gave to us. It's not something, I guess, the best way to
But
put it is that he needs, or it's his nature that is good. His nature defines good.
doesn't have free will. God
I
can make
think that
choices.
free will is something that applies to human beings. It's not, we can't take our existence and superimpose it onto a being that
What
defines one half
what
of
I
our existence,
what
which is
I
fallen in
take
nature.
yeah what I take free will to mean is the capacity for an agent to make free choices. Now, if you're saying that God doesn't have the ability to make free choices, then that's good enough for me, really. But I don't really know if you want to bite that bullet.
Well, it's only you use the same definition that would apply to a human to God. God has choices that he makes, but his nature is good. So when he makes a choice, it becomes good because it's chosen by good.
Yeah, that's fine.
If
But
God,
can
you
are his choices free?
for us with our set of choices and our understanding, to disobey God is evil. Then
Sorry,
again,
can
God can turn around, like as in issuing a commandment that we may see as evil. And when he issues that command, it becomes good because he understands the full outcome of it is
okay.
good.
So let's approach this another way. Do you think that if human beings didn't have free will, we'd be like robots?
We still have to program robots. So you're taking like a definition of something that already exists that we
Okay,
created, which could
I
already
know.
be good and evil.
Okay, what I'm saying is, what do you think? Like, what are
We
your
wouldn't
thoughts
even
about a human being
exist
with
if
no
there
free
was
will?
no choice. There would be no
Okay,
point for us to exist.
okay, sure. So, another way of going about the same objection as before, because I guess
You want to make
you
somebody
don't.
else's argument because you don't like mine, so you want to
No, no,
argue with one that
no,
you're
no, no,
familiar with.
no,
Okay.
no, that's not what's happening, buddy. Merely saying that if you want to bite the bullet on God not having free will, right, that's fine. And there's just another way that I can
No,
present
I'm saying no, I
the same
didn't say
objection.
that. I said that you take our idea of free will and apply it to God, whose will is good by its
No, it's
nature.
fine. It's fine that God's will is good. I'm just merely asking if
You
God
can't. You just
has
can't
free
take.
will.
You just can't
Like,
take
can God
free
make free
will
choices?
as we understand it. Yeah, he can make free choices. Yes,
He can, because that's what I take free will to mean.
and as soon as he makes a choice, it's defined as good because God is the one who defines good. God
That's
is our
uh
concept of good.
that's completely fine. Now, what I'm merely saying is that if it's possible for you to have free choices, right, and always make a choice that's good, that means there's no logical incompatibility between the two, which means that it could very
If
easily
you were
exist in a
make
human context.
if you managed to make, first of all, you couldn't apart from God because you're just using human understanding, and that in itself is not good.
Sorry. So, is there a logical incompatibility between a free choice and always doing good? Because if there is, it's going to apply to God. You're not going to bite the bullet on the God thing, right?
If you're
So it's
always
one or
doing
the other.
good, you're making the choice to obey God. You're still making the
Um,
choice.
yeah, what I'm merely saying is that we could have free choices, but we could always choose good.
Um, you could, I mean, hypothetically, I don't think that's possible ever, but I guess hypothetically,
No, I'm merely saying is that God could have just given us all free will, but it was free will, whereas we always chose the good.
okay, that's silly. I mean, if there's no choice, then what's the free part of it?
Right, now what I'm saying is if what God always chooses is good, right, and he can't do evil, but he has
Yes,
free choices,
but
then that
see,
means the
like
two are compatible.
God's results are not immediate. So in creating what he created, this choice and this dichotomy, then the end result will be good, all good, as in us choosing to overcome evil and existing in a state where everything is good. His results don't come immediately. That's why you cannot apply our perception of reality onto him and our,
I don't.
our
Yeah, I don't know what the speed of his results have to do with anything.
because something that we may do evil could easily turn out to good for him.
Yeah, and that's fine. All I'm merely saying is that we could always do what's good, right, and still
No,
retain our free choice.
no, we couldn't because
Well,
there's without a demonstration of that choice, it doesn't exist. Like there's a clear
yeah, then that just
contradiction
means,
there.
yeah, then that just means God, who always does good, doesn't have free choice. If there's a contradiction there, do you see
God
the
doesn't
objection?
God doesn't do good. He is good.
Yeah,
If
I
God
mean,
were a
but is
human being,
sorry, does he choose
you would
good?
have an argument if God was a human being.
Look, are God's choices always good?
Yes.
Okay,
But he's
so
the one who
that's fine.
defines good. He is the source of good. See,
Either
you
way,
can't
that's fine.
you don't
That's all consistent
understand.
with the objection. That's consistent with the objection.
You're making a direct comparison between people who don't know good and the one who defines good. There's no direct comparison there.
People who don't know good. Look, I agree that in the Christian view, God defines good, right? All I'm merely saying is that God defines good and his choices are good. Yes. Now, says that if all of
His
God's
will is
choices,
good. It's not choices. When you say choices, you imply that he could do something evil. As soon as he does something, it's defined as good because he is the source of the whole
that's
concept.
fine. Yeah. So it's logically possible for you to make all good choices, right?
No.
And never make evil choice. Sorry, that's
No,
not.
because as soon as you make the choice,
All
you're
I'm
not
saying by you
if you're
God.
doing good, you're doing what God has
Uh-huh.
defined as good. So it's
Look,
not a choice,
no,
it's
no, no.
you humbling yourself to his will.
You
It's not
misunderstand.
if you're making a choice, you're doing something else.
Okay, you misunderstand. All I'm simply saying is that it's possible for an always good choice to be made, right? While still retaining free choices nonetheless, right? As in the case of God.
What?
Right, that's presumably what God's choices are always good, which we agree to, and God's choices are
Yeah,
free,
but
which presumably also agree to. But that
you're
just means the
prescribing
two
to
are
him the
logically
kind of
compatible.
agency that we have where we live in a world full of good and evil and those options exist before us where
No,
in God's existence he is constantly defining good.
no, it's fine that
It's
he's
not the
defining good.
same situation.
No, but look, like I said, he defines good, and his choices are always good. Yes,
It's not you
his
don't
choices are
understand.
free. He defines good, and his choices are always good.
His actions are good. Let's say that. His actions
Sure,
are good.
his actions are good. So now what I'm saying is it's possible then, right? There's no logical incompatibility between God having created agents, aka human beings, right, whose actions are always good, but still retain free choice or free will nonetheless. Do you
What?
understand the objection?
No.
Um, I think it's probably better if we, I guess, like stop now, because this is just
Probably.
really painful for me. But it was nice talking to you. The blind only.
At a certain point, you just can't handle it no more.
Well, it's difficult for two people to argue from a point of view and come to a conclusion when one person has no objective sense of morality and the other does. It also applies to the integrity of your argument and the
I,
requirements that you place on yourself therein.
I don't think
Yeah,
you know
it
who
was nice
Blind
talking to
Dog
you, my dude.
is.
Are you not gonna like? Okay,
Oh,
feels bad.
do I have to repeat you after you say something?
You don't have to repeat me, but it's it's a nice thing to do.
Well, like, I think arguments are nice when they reach a conclusion. When someone assumes the high ground and uh, condescends to his opponent, I don't think that's very nice. So I don't agree. It wasn't a nice talk.
I wasn't
Well, I
condescending.
mean, I'm sure he was lying as well, right? But that's besides the point.
Yeah, I mean, this has been like very painful for me, but you know, I
Yeah,
just
I
a
could
nice
say.
talk nonetheless.
I know it's hard when you can't get the ball tossed into your court and have people drop down and use your sense of logic, but like my logic is anchored to a firm place and yours moves around. Words.
Mashallah. The only thing that'll make this like worth it is if Jack was here and listening. Otherwise, I'm gonna be really triggered.
Oh yes. We need more giggling like a schoolgirl. That would
That's not
help.
Jack. That's Bashar.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's funny to laugh at the animals.
Is Jack your sense of morality? That the one you
Yes,
Uh,
worship?
yes,
He
yeah,
needs to
yeah.
observe he needs to
yes.
observe your actions and determine that they're good.
That's actually
Man,
kind of accurate.
That's unfortunate for
well, I would
one
rather
man
listen to
to
some.
place that much importance on another man's opinion.
Well, he is very intelligent. What is this, J? That's the wrong thing. Oh no, some customers are
Welcome back. I mean, what's a Hebrew name? What's up, Hamesh?
So
Ganesh.
you actually do have an objective opinion of good. It's that which Jack defines.
Yeah.
All right, so your philosophy is inconsistent. Like I said, you can
Mashallah.
argue from a philosophy that you don't even have because you look for approval in men. I look for approval from God.
But
Jack is a god.
Exactly, he's your God.
He's the god.
Who defines good for you is your God. Either
Yeah,
it's
aka
you
Jack.
or it's the man you worship.
Yeah, Jack knows all. He's 150 IQ.
In so much as you can know something, I suppose that's true in your world, you know. Jack defines what's right and good, and you abide.
Um,
So we both
yeah,
have a God. So
sometimes
you're
it's a
not
little
an
sketchy.
atheist after all.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
You're actually religious.
All's well that ends well.
uh,
Although I'm a filthy Unitarian, I don't commit shirk.
Well, now you got a third philosophy. So you just borrow them for the sake of argument. I like to reach conclusions and live by principles.
this is
Mashallah.
why I agree with Marx.
Well, Marx thought that religion was like the opiate of like the masses.
That's exactly what I referred to.
Uh,
Marx also lived on his friend's couch for most of his life and wouldn't have been able to
Wow,
do a thing
talking
without
about
having.
personal
yeah,
attacks. What if he was
thank
just
Is it
God.
an
crippled?
Well, his
objection
philosophy
that
didn't really
Marx
get
is
him
still?
anywhere, did it?
No, but that's the thing, right? Much like Jesus, Mark sacrificed his own life and spent it on a couch
No,
so he could
no,
spread
he
the
didn't.
message to us. I'm
Sacrificing
sure
your
that it
life
was.
is giving, not taking. He made himself the god to many while sleeping on his friend's couch and not actually providing anything that would
He never
sustain his own
proclaimed
life.
to be God.
Well, and I didn't say he did. He's just treated like one because people use him to determine how they should live their life. What's good and evil, right and wrong.
Um,
Your God is your idol, you know. The word God is a position of authority that you give somebody over your life.
Marx
It
was
doesn't
pretty smart.
automatically determine that you have mystical overworldly powers.
Have you looked into historical materialism?
What?
Nothing.
Not.
Yo, Young is online. Yo, get him.
Please.
Oh, he just went offline.
Oh, rip.
Rest in peace.
So when Jack dies, who's going to determine what's right and wrong for you?
Can someone
Um,
just shoot me in the head right
it's gonna. Well, Jack. Okay, so you can think of me as like Saint Peter, right? Like Jack has many disciples. We're gonna
I'll
go on to
pass.
spread. We're gonna go on to spread the message of Jack's utterances to everyone. We're gonna make it a book.
I don't know, when you could shift morality on the drop of a hat. I mean, if somebody points a
But
gun
we
at your
don't
head,
shift morality.
well, you have no sense of morality,
No, we do.
so
It's
it's
Jack.
constantly shifting. I'm the one who defines morality here because you don't
No, but
have
it's
one.
Jack. No, Jack is our sense of morality.
Yeah, when he's dead, then who
No,
defines it
but
then?
no, I mean he's gonna define it always, right? Like even when Jesus got
Well, if you're
crucified,
following his
right?
if you're following his definition now, then he doesn't have one either. So how do you know whether?
Jack has a definition of morality.
Well, you're not abiding by Jack then because you
Yeah,
say that
yeah,
you
I am.
don't.
I don't want.
So you're not even consistent in your religious beliefs then.
Well, look, I'm not perfect, right? I'm a sinner as far as Jack is concerned. You know, I am a sinner and I must repent, Jack.
Well, if you acknowledge sin, then you acknowledge that there's a right and wrong,
Like, no, yeah, in respect to Jack,
which
there is a right and
is
wrong.
that contradicts what you said earlier. You see what I mean? Like you can move
Well,
around your sense of morality, your
I was
philosophy.
pretending, I
It
was pretending
changes.
to be an atheist throughout that conversation.
Maybe that's why
Uh,
you
I
maybe
was,
that's why you can't get anywhere because you're not
I,
actually speaking from a firm sense of your own principles, and that's why you
well,
could borrow from
well,
my
it's always,
philosophy, borrow from Jack, borrow from atheists, and just create an argument that has absolutely no conclusion. And then you say,
yeah,
"Well, you couldn't reach a conclusion because I'm not using logic, and so I win."
yeah. It's look, it's always fun to like play devil's advocate, right? But my real views lie with Jack. But anyway, we can
This
stop
is why
talking about
it's
my
this is
religious
why it's
beliefs.
this is why it's never nice to talk to an atheist.
Mashallah, bro. Um,
I mean, if I
um,
wanted to be brain dead, right, and I know what to do.
I love you, Bashar.
I love you too.
Never forget me.
And never forget the
I'm so
sacrifice
sad.
you've made.
I'm so sad you missed our debate yesterday. That was really fun.
No, well, I have my. Don't worry, I'll be.
Yo, is that Brenda?
It is
Yo,
Oh,
what's
Comrade
poppin'?
Brandon.
Brenda,
Comrade
what's
Brenda.
up, girl? How are you?
I hate
Also, can
Bashar.
somebody stop the recording? Like the whole debate was a cluster F word anyway.
Cluster F word. Yo,
Yeah,
Brenda,
I
what's
mean,
poppin'? Wow, so Brenda hates me. Mashallah. I'm gonna cry. Brenda wins like the award for the most boomer PFP in the world.
Why would anyone cry if they didn't have a sense of good or evil?
I do have a sense of good and evil. We've been over this.
why do I want to die when you speak?
Ah,
Well, it's the condition of man, you know. We don't like to obey rules. We don't like to follow rules, and it just you've taken it to this point where you can't even stand to listen to somebody who does, because
Oh,
disturbs your peaceful world of anarchy.
get
I'm
wrecked,
not
dude.
an anarch.
Yeah, you also like I'm not an anarchist myself.
If there's no rules, then you are an anarchist by some definition.
What's going on?
Yeah, but
You're just waiting for somebody with enough guns to come along and tell you what to do.
Mash.
Mashallah. There's no other wording for this. Mashallah.
Yo, I just got paid. Yeet.
How much,
I can't tell you.
please? Give me like an estimate then.
Only if you kiss me.
Just tell me how much it's worth in how much it would be worth in the Weimar Republic with the mass inflation, right?
What the fuck are you talking?
Nobody will find out how much it's worth because it's worth nothing in that case, right?
Yo, Brenda.
Uh,
Or Jack. Really any like old person.
excuse me.
You're the youngest guy here, shut up.
I was born in the 70s during the Iran-Iraq War.
I don't think the Iran-Iraq War was in the 70s.
I completely forgot when it took place.
Well, wasn't the revolution in 1379?
Wait, let me look up Iran Revolution.
I think it was like a year after the revolution, wasn't it? Maybe Blind
The
Owl can help us.
revolution started in 1978 and it ended in 1979.
Yeah,
And then
so the Iraq War, the Iran-Iraq War, I'm pretty sure was like a year after the revolution. So
the Iran-Iraq War was
Iran-Iraq War started at, I think,
in
September of 1980.
1980, and it lasted 8 years until
Mashallah.
1988. Top 10 best generals.
I remember in school there was like this story about a little kid who like jumped, like yeeted himself into a tank or something with like grenades around him. And that was like a really famous story in the textbooks.
I see. So instead of learning children the alphabet, they learn to blow up Iraqi tanks.
Yeah, basically.
Hey, you know what? You know what they say. If you don't like your government or war, you can just walk away or die.
Yeah. Top 10 anti-anarchist moments.
I'll never forget when you said that.
Yo, Jackie.
That was so beautiful.
Why is
Like
Jackie not responding?
just to relive Jack isn't there, just to relive the moments. Like you or me mentioned the 1953 coup, and then he went on. Then he went on about this god power of the government or something.
Come along with me.
Oh, you're truly enlightening me, Vic. Oh, that was funny.
It's like a dance, mashallah.
And then you continued like the US is God. Oh, it was beautiful.
When you called me intelligent, Bashar, I blushed.
No, genuinely, your English debating skills are better than this white Americans. Congratulations.
Yeah, but beating Americans is like a accomplishment, really.
Tell that to your governments. They lose constantly.
Why?
Top 10 flexes for like imperialism.
When was the last time? When was the last time you guys had a victory against us?
Yeah, dude, we come over and destabilize your governments, and then we like drone strike your people.
Sounds like a loss to me.
Are you bragging about the stabilizing governments at this point?
I'm simply stating a fact.
No, like
Yeah,
how
and
much
the
of an
fact-
actual like boomer like is this guy? And he's like flexing about imperialism. Oh my lord!
I'm simply stating a fact. All you guys do is lose.
No, but you're like stating the fact as if you're proud of it, right?
I didn't say that. I said it's a fact.
You're like, as if you feel the need to just say something.
Are you proud of your government?
No.
Okay.
No, absolutely not.
Do you state factual things that your government did?
Are you proud of your government?
Is anyone proud of their government?
Yeah, many like boomers such as yourself support the American government.
Boomers such Manny, why are you so entertaining?
Oh. Hey, you think my power levels in like philosophy and like this sort of debate is like high? What you gotta
power
you gotta
level?
catch? Yeah, it's I mean, but you gotta check out my power levels when I become a 200 IQ Leninist. That's when I'll truly go around dabbing on the capitalists.
Oh boy, the only place I shine is in the toilet brushing it right.
No, you know a surprising amount about like I think you and Blind Owl are probably like the imperialism boys in the good way.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Like I think you know like way more about like Middle Eastern history than like really anyone that like I know.
Yeah, I was just joking, right? History is really what I'm interested in.
Oh, someone
Yeah.
said my name. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good. What I
no,
need you
yeah.
to do for me is I need you to look into all the instances of the West, specifically the US, fucking with socialist uprisings all around the world, especially in South America.
Does it have to be socialist, or can it just be fucking up with effing up whatever?
Well, what I'm saying is I know they effed up like everywhere, but I'm more
Yeah.
so interested. The thing is when people come in and they're like, "Well, communism never worked." I want to like know the historical background on why the different revolutions were either like deformed or the worker states, degenerated or et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
You're
I can
proposing the
definitely
only
look
reason
in.
communism fails is because of interference from the outside,
Well, if you
like
consider it
competition
depends.
by other ideologies. Does that count as interference? If we would
Well,
have just left you alone,
That's
if
not.
we would have just left it alone where communism was the only option, I guess you could call it a success because that would be all it would exist.
Well, capitalism is gonna collapse anyway. Really, I mean, let's be real. So
Oh,
communism
but
will
now
end
I
up.
actually want to discuss.
Call me up. Send me a
Sorry.
postcard when that happens, if you can find a mailbox.
Sure.
Oh,
Bashar al-Assad.
we will definitely discuss Judeo-Bolshevism some other time.
Yeah, you should look into the labor theory of value, Bashar. I think you'll find it interesting.
The only group that was ever able to like establish a stable communist government, they're the problem with communism. The only ones who actually like enacted it for a good amount of time
Well,
stably,
Oh.
they're the problem with communism.
Oh, well, I agree.
That's where it was birthed from.
No, but well, I mean, it was birth. I mean, I think it even
Where?
predates
Well, what's the
Marx,
first
really. But
example? What's the first example of it?
well, I'm sure there were cases of societies that you consider to be communist even
The
before Marx.
philosophy
But
isn't consistent with reality.
yeah.
And now you're
Sorry,
reshaping
what?
history to conform
Yeah.
to a
You're
inconsistent philosophy.
such a stupid boomer. Like I never even said anything, and you're saying I like reformed history. What are you talking about? Did you like listen to a word
You
that I just said?
You proposed that communism would be fine if left alone, and the Bolsheviks messed it up somehow.
No, but I agree with you on that. Like I agree that it was due to a lot of Stalinist policies that a lot of different socialist uprisings around the world got fucked over, as well as the USSR itself. I agree that it was the fault of Stalin.
It's the fault of Stalin that communism fails around the world.
Well, I don't think that saying that communism fails is the right phrase there. Then I would
where
use.
does it succeed?
Well, what I'm saying is that I take communism or socialism to be worldwide change, right? So I don't think you could have the idea of socialism in one country.
Isn't that just?
I think you can have worker states, right? So I think the USSR was a worker state during the time of Lenin, but I think when Stalin came into power, then it stopped being a worker state.
Mm-hmm.
So communism doesn't have the strength to defend itself. Then is what you're saying. It's easily subverted.
I don't know what you mean.
Well,
what's going on?
if it has any strength at all, then why would it be so easily subverted?
Well, I mean,
it's a philosophy. It's a philosophy that's based on like laziness and feels. So of course it's easily subverted.
What are you talking about? It's based on laziness and feels. I mean, the motto, the Marxist mottos, each according to their ability, each according to their need. I mean, according to their ability is like the antithesis of
capitalist.
laziness.
That's a capitalist, actually.
No way.
According to their ability.
That's a quote from Marx. That's Marx.
It's an inconsistent philosophy. That's what I'm explaining.
This guy just destroyed Marx.
It's easily subverted.
What a boomer.
According to his ability, he laid on a couch his whole life. So
yeah, That just seems like some sort of like mixture of a genetic fallacy and an ad hominem. Like,
Communism?
so what? No, what the fuck? No, this like weird thing where you're saying Marx was on the couch all day. Like, okay, yeah, Marx could be like a baby rapist, like, right? What does it matter about him being right or wrong?
His philosophy is born out of laziness, and you know,
What are you talking about? He literally
he
held the
arrived at his
view.
conclusion. He arrived at his
Can I
conclusion
just say
before he did
something?
any of the work to get there. You know, like
Listen,
What?
if you're gonna like criticize communism, you better like know what you're doing.
I'm going by his definition. Each according to his ability. That's capitalism.
That was just a
Mashallah.
Marx quote.
Each according to his ability. Each according to his need contradicts itself.
Ooh, get him.
Okay. Anyway. Manny, what did you want me to check out? Like the failure of
Yeah. I want you to read up for me, obviously, like at your own leisure, whenever you can, the history of different socialist movements in South America and the subversion of the United States or general imperialist powers.
yeah, there are like I'm sorry, B whole load of examples of that. Don't worry, I'll get to it.
You're gonna learn all of them, and then you're gonna teach me all of them because I'm too
I'll,
lazy to
I'll
do the
learn a
research.
fair bit. I'll learn a fair bit of them because history is the one thing I don't like fall asleep for. Right?
Bashar,
Yeah.
it's a long ways. I don't think you can do it in the near future.
Don't worry. Don't worry. I
Because
know.
I'm reading through it. Almost all of the South American countries
No, I'm
suffered
not
by
gonna
U.S.
read about
imperialism.
every. Listen, I'm not a
To be
maniac
fair,
like you.
Blind Owl, you're focusing like too much on, you know, like I feel like half of what you read has been on like one country alone.
Yeah, that's yeah. Listen, I
No,
don't need.
so okay, I read some books before that, but
Come on,
some
like.
countries are pivotal. Like some events in the past create a pivotal moment for the whole region. So to understand others, we should very well understand this specific events. So that's what I'm doing at the moment.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm just not gonna learn every detail about when President Gonzalez went to shit in the. I mean, S word in the toilet, right?
Um, hold on, is Jack here?
I don't know where
Jack.
Jack is. Allah, Allah, Allah.
This is why Jewish people are evil.
Yeah, I'm surprised he doesn't have the Jewish rule yet.
Yeah, he should have that all.
Too bad there are anti-Semites here, so.
Yikes.
You're a Semite.
Ooh.
Yeah, of course. Why would I be
I'm married to.
anti-Semitic against my fellow Semitic people?
I don't know who's the anti-Semite in here. I'm married to a Semite.
That's not
Oh
good.
no, but like, I'm not racist, but I have a black friend, right? Doesn't work.
There's
I
only
love
one
Bashar.
race on the planet. I can't be racist.
Mashallah. Wait, Victor,
Mashallah.
how old are you?
Why does that
Allah,
matter?
Allah,
I mean, you
Allah.
asked me the same question before.
Oh, that was just a
To add
pejorative,
on me,
really?
yes, of course, but
Because you seem very young and arrogant.
Wow.
I mean, both were probably true.
How old do you think he is?
I would guess under 20.
And how old do
Mashallah.
you think, let's say, I am?
24, maybe?
Yeah, correct. No, you
Correct.
genuinely guessed correct.
Shut the fuck up. Wait, hold on. Do you think I sound older or Bashar?
No, Bashar sounds older than you.
Wait, but is that because of like what I say and like how I act, or like voice alone?
Both.
Rest in peace, dude. Bashar has
Manny,
me
I don't
beat.
know if
I
this
can't forgive
doesn't
this.
prove anything. I don't know what will.
Um.
Anyway, what are you doing now, Manuela Cap? I'm not gonna say the second thing.
I'm working.
Why would you still work for the capitalist dogs?
Because I still gotta eat.
Oh yeah, it's all fun to be communist until you need to eat.
I don't know if the two are at odds.
Okay,
What's the
that
matter?
actually
None of your friends got a spare couch for you?
okay, the food
I'm sure
joke
they.
was actually kind of funny. Um,
Oh, I got
man,
cereal.
money. So,
What up, asshole?
uh, why would you swear? Do I need to bring Arif back?
Yeah, get him.
I think he's like touching him. I don't know what he's doing.
That's pretty hot.
Yeah. Anyway, can this dog stop recording the F wording voice chat?
Yeah, we've said too many F words. This spot needs to
It's
stop.
server policy that we record debates for
No, but
review
Yeah, but the
and for
debate
education.
stopped like 10 hours ago. What's going on?
You never know. You never know when it could kick back up again. We don't want
This
to
is
waste
bad policy.
material.
Okay. Anyway.
It's
Um,
not all going. It's not all going to the FBI. Only portions. Don't worry.
That's fair.
Allah.
I'm
Do
so
you even believe?
upset.
Do you guys even believe in God? The amount that you talk about him would suggest that you're like have some kind of importance tied to him.
I believe in Jack. We've been over this.
I believe in Khomeini.
Oh my god.
Don't say God's name in vain.
Don't say Khomeini's name in vain.
You got me. I guess we're gonna refer to him by the K word now.
Fly me to the moon and let me play.
Fly me to the party
Oh, okay.
with a Kalashnikov. Shoot the
Let
dogs
me
all
see
down.
what spring is like on Jupiter.
So anyway, while you were
Um,
hiding the fact that you were a commie to me, like,
um,
like, what are you reading now? What kind of communist are you? I mean, all
probably
our
a Leninist.
discuss. A what? A Leninist?
Leninist? Yeah.
I see. Do you have any
Or
Trotskyist?
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Either a Leninist or a Trotskyist. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's because you said like you don't believe in like socialism in one country. So.
yeah. Now, yeah, but neither did Lenin, though, as far as I know.
Yeah, but
But
I need to I don't know what I'm talking about. But anyway,
I don't that much either. But
okay.
I'm currently reading Lenin's State and Revolution
I see.
with
Well,
Young and Durgan,
and
and I'm
if you're
meant to be.
wondering,
Oh,
no,
sorry.
sorry, continue.
No, and I'm meant to be reading Mendel's Introduction to Marxist Economics with Shabir, but he's been like fucking disappeared on me
I
recently.
see.
Like, just has like what an actual Uncle Tom. It's been awful.
If you're wondering, right now I'm reading this absolute classic of a book in 1984. You must have heard of it.
Is that like a Nazi thing? I keep hearing reference to it, but I never looked it up.
No, it's a book by George Orwell, right? If you're wondering,
Oh, okay.
why would you like it's a bad book?
Well, that's the guy who wrote Animal Farm, so he should be killed.
No, but don't worry. The Animal Farm book was a criticism of Stalinism as well. So
Yeah, no, I know.
So isn't it odd how somebody working from like a logical point of view could predict the future like 50 years,
Mashallah.
60 years ahead of time?
Exactly, dude.
yeah, that's what 1984 was all about. Anyway, you
Well,
should
I know.
definitely read 1984. I think it's a very good book, Manny. It's basically, if you must know about it, surely, but in case you don't, it's about this like very
It's a
like,
dystopian thing, right?
it's a
If
dystopian totalitarian dictatorship, basically.
if
Um,
Orwell had been a communist, 1984 would have been about flying cars and horns of plenty.
I
Mashallah.
wish I knew
Because
what you were talking about,
Yeah,
honestly.
you're just saying like weird,
well,
edgy nonsense.
it's
But
the point that he was anti-communist, and from his perspective, he was able to predict what the future would look like. Now, if he was a
Well,
communist living in a fantasy world, as communists do,
oh, I see.
exactly,
he
dude.
would have predicted an
Boom.
entirely different future.
Got him.
I see
Marx
now.
and Engels just ate so much shit from this guy, dude. Oh, damn.
Anyway, Manny, I swear,
What's up, buddy?
the books were for
I
read.
mean, just pointing out that eventually your philosophy has to like exist in reality, or it's just a concept of
Yeah,
a fairy
it'll
tale.
exist in reality when capitalism fails.
It has existed for a moment and proved that it didn't have the strength to stand on its own feet.
Yeah, it just seems like you're using a different understanding of communism. Because I don't think you
Oh,
can have
yes, there's
communism in one
always,
state.
much like in your arguments, the definition of
Exactly.
words and things changes as you need them to.
10 out of 10.
Are people and things what they do or what they call themselves? What's a more accurate way to determine what something is?
How does it feel to like understand less about the world than like an 18-year-old?
How
As
does
like
it
a boomer?
feel to understand less than? I'm not
Dude,
gonna.
you mean to not be able to participate in a fantasy? Yes, I'm anchored firmly to reality, and I
Listen,
cannot drift off with you to a dream
Boom.
world
no,
where
but this
in
Liberal
Viktor
some
guy
in
makes
rest
some
me.
with
in some
facts and logic.
fantasy land where communism exists in the ether and it works perfectly, I can only see it in action, and what things are in action is what defines them, not the vague concepts that we discuss when we're trying to make a point.
I love
MashaAllah.
you. No, but this Viktor guy makes me wanna put what my problems are with Judeo-Bolshevism. I just don't feel like saying it here, right? We need to talk money for real.
Um,
It's
For
always a
yeah,
me,
lot more fun to talk to somebody who will agree with you constantly. I agree.
I mean that's a
we
fair.
don't agree.
No, but I'm not a commie. Trust me. Listen, Victor, you and me are uh, like part of the same anti-communist coin, right? It's just that I
Bashar
have.
is like not a boomer.
Well, I'm not really a capitalist. I just know that
Yeah, no, but
capitalism works
like,
better than communism. I'm a
yeah, of
monarchist, if
course.
you really want to know.
Oh,
Like,
I'm just
like
waiting for my king
communism
to
is
arrive.
against your religion as well, right? Not okay.
Yeah, if a man doesn't work, he shouldn't eat.
MashaAllah. I'm pretty sure that was in the Constitution of the USSR.
They got it from the
Yeah, like
Bible.
I don't think
anyway.
so.
It was in
So
the Bible first, so they got it from the Bible.
Well, that's just a non sequitur.
Well, it came from God,
why
and the
is there so
concept
much
doesn't exist
tension?
without God.
Why is
No,
there
but
so much tension between you two? Like, chill out.
but why is he? You can see that he's like clearly nonsense, right? Just because it was in the Bible, that like means that when Marx wrote it
Yeah,
down, he had to have got
obviously
it
I
from
Well,
the
know,
Bible.
right? But I feel
I
like
mean, what
this is
nonsense is that?
pointless and it's just pissing me
none
off.
of this exists without being created.
Listen, I'm not a
That's
communist
different from whether
either.
it's written in the Bible or not.
Listen. You
It
can
was not
believe in
only in the
like,
Bible. It was not only in
yeah,
the
but
Bible, but then the Bible perpetuated itself throughout all of
stop.
Europe and a lot of the Middle East, and that
Us,
philosophy comes from the Bible. It may have been
Yeah,
learned from some human
Manny,
being, but
please
its
let me
and
origin
finish.
is
now
the Bible.
Manny.
and now you guys are just
So,
getting wrecked by the Muslims left and right.
so
Really?
basically,
Yeah,
no,
And that's why
fastest
you're
growing
basically,
accusing
religion
us
in
of
the world, dude.
that's why
Fastest
you're
growing
accusing
religion.
us of destroying the Middle East.
No, but look, it's
basically,
the fastest growing religion. You guys are about to become number two.
basically,
Jesus hated religion. Why do
the
I care what religion is beating what religion? They're all
debating
wrong.
about religion is not going to go anywhere for both sides.
I don't have a religion
That's
to
what
support.
my
You guys,
that's
it's all your argument. I don't have a religion to support.
I
I
see.
I have
agree. We're
Christianity is
all
not a
I
religion.
have
atheists.
I
MashaAllah.
have I have faith in a God. I don't have a religion.
Sorry, do you believe in the crucifixion?
Yeah.
Did you read that in Holy Scripture?
I read it in a historical document, and I saw it demonstrated in reality.
You saw the crucifixion?
I saw the results of it.
The results of some guy getting like nailed?
Well, and everything that followed, the entire context of
So
it.
the ejaculation.
What?
Is this you taking the high ground, or should I
Yeah, of
wait for
course.
that?
Oh, please, please. Anyway, you can believe in your 2000-year book all you want. Manny can believe in his Jew communist all he wants. It doesn't effing matter, right? Anyway, so Manny, do you obviously communism is the end game, right? The classless, stateless, whateverless society. But in
It's
this,
less, well, stateless as in the way Marx and Engels define the state. There could still
yeah,
be something in communist society that me and you could
yeah, I
consider to
know
be.
you're not moronic enough to be a anarchist. Anyway, so that's the end game. But how do you think? How do you want to achieve this utopian end game?
Well, the end game would be antinatalism and the human race like not existing anymore. That would be like ideal, but we could have communism as like the alternative.
Uh, why do you confuse me? But I still love you.
I love you too.
It's not really that confusing when you don't have to make any sense. I mean,
Exactly, dude.
it's just a
Atheist
bunch of
destroyed
words.
with facts and logic.
It's a bunch of
Right.
words that you're saying. Don't represent anything.
No, I agree. It
Exactly.
doesn't want to go with a serious conversation here, right?
Wait, I never said that. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
but I know
Oh.
you longer than today, right? Not, I don't want it either.
Well, trust
No.
me, it's not hard to pick that up. It doesn't take
Ooh,
very
Yeah,
long to
get
figure
him.
out that somebody's not representing
Get the
their
atheist, dude.
their real philosophy. They're just borrowing
Oh,
here and there to argue.
oh. uh, you know, Bashar, you know Hassan?
Hassan. Are you talking
Yeah.
about like the Moroccan guy in Europe?
No, that's
No.
Abdullah.
Oh, the radical Islamist from Yemen.
Yeah. The radicalism's from Yemen.
Yeah,
He
I know.
keeps making, like really like sexist, transphobic, homophobic posts. And I keep like just like putting like sarcastic gifs in the comments of like his posts.
Right.
And he made this post and he said, "Reminder: progressives need a moral compass. Without some form of social conservatism, they would be no more than cattle." And I just like commented a gif of like a black woman looking like really sassy. And then he responded and he said, "You're a quote unquote moral nihilist. You have no dog in this fight to begin with."
I see. But
Oh, he's such a fucking. No, he made a transphobic post, and I said, "Come and debate me on Discord," and he was like, "I only have a theological basis." So I was like, "Okay, so you don't have anything."
well, to be fair, if you put your basis on uh,
Mr. Sandman.
uh if you put your basis on a book written in an Arabian desert cave, I mean, it's not going to be a
Arabian
fun
desert.
debate, is it?
Arabian desert cave is a tautology.
I don't care.
Okay. Is Jack here yet?
No.
Jack.
Ma.
Yo, Jack. Ariana Grande is debating the LTV with Darth Dawkins. He's really not here.
Okay. Wait, let me ask the boomer about some stuff. Boomer, what do you
Oh,
think of the. I'm sure he
boomer.
has no idea. What do you think of the 1953 coup
Oh
in
no.
in Iran?
Boomer?
Either he's looking it up or he's not at home right now.
Or he's too much of a boomer to realize that we're calling him.
Maybe his hearing is damaged, right? You know,
I need to be right back, Bashar.
Why would you leave me with
Well,
quiet
I'm going into
boomer?
Re. Are you still in Re? Yeah, you are. Just come with me.
Okay.
Anyway, Victor, I love you. Okay, buddy?
You mean the vegan server?
No, not Re. Just it's a server with that. It's got Pepe as the picture.
Uh, I think I'm not.
Yeah, you are. You're in there.
Oh, really? Well, there are too
Oh.
many servers. Oh, I found it.
Okay. All right, Victor, I'm gonna go now. Everybody.
All right.
All right, love you, dude. Wow.
Bye. Man, it's frustrating talking to people who just don't care about anything.